Let's move into safe play. What's a safe play? You hear that now, safe play. What is a safe play in regard to a tournament or referee or coaches?
Yeah, that's something a couple of years ago they started having us as referees and people as coaches and anyone who's really affiliated as an adult with USTA. They have to play. They have to pass the safe play test. I guess it's basically just a course that you take online, and they show you some videos and give you some scenarios, and they ask you what you would do. Of course, the right answer is never to bully or harass a player. So that's the bottom line in safe play. It's just trying to keep players safe from being harassed or bullied or treated inappropriately by adults whenever they're in contact with each other.
Right.
And we all have to take that test now, even if you're a coach or a director or referee, whatever, you have to take and pass that test.
Right. So it's fair to say that you referee tournament every weekend?
Oh, no, that would kill me. I'd say about two tournaments a month is my pace that I usually try to keep. Now, sometimes there's three, but I try not to work a whole month in a row. I've had to do that a few times, but since I have a regular job as a teacher, I don't want to wear myself out, so I try to just have two tournaments a month.
Now, what's the ruling on rain delay when two players start a match, one won the first set, then heavy rain come in? Did you stop them at the scoring and then restart them where they left at?
That is correct. You want to stop at an agreed upon score. You want them to agree on what the score is, in other words. It should try to be an even game. In other words, 1-1 or 2-2 or something like that. But if it's raining too hard, you got to stop when you stop. So wherever you stop, you must get the score. Make sure both players agree on that score. These days with a virtual tournament desk, you just report it on your phone, what the score is, and then you can resume with that score once the grounds are safe enough to return to play on.
What is the difference between refereeing junior tournaments, college or pro? Which one is more difficult? Which one is easier?
Well, I wouldn't say any are more difficult than the other. I mean, generally, probably the pros are probably the easiest because they know the rules and they follow them for the most part. And usually you don't have very many instances. And usually when you're on a pro match, you have one job. So you're doing one line or you're doing the chair. You're doing one thing. I think college would be the second most difficult because you're doing more than one thing. You're usually the only person in the chair, and you're the one that's in charge of that match. But the college players generally know the rules and follow the rules. So you're not going to have much to do with that part of the match. Your main job is to watch the lines, make sure that the score is kept, and make sure that everything is fair. But they're not going to go over the line that often, especially when they have spectators watching and they have a coach watching and possibly their girlfriends. So they usually keep in line. The junior players are the most work because you're usually by yourself and usually watching about 10 courts. I mean, anywhere from 5 to 10 courts at one time. And then you have to actively go onto a court and resolve a situation that's already gotten tense because you're being called to a court after they've already been playing for a while. These are, junior tournaments are non-refereed until they need somebody, basically. So I think they're the toughest because they're the longest days and how many things you're responsible for.
So when you go in a situation where two kids are disputing a scoring and you are not there, you are calling, what is the judgment? The person
we have we have basically a rule of thumb to follow is that we get them to agree on the score. First of all, that's our first option, is that they agree on the score, whether one player that's serving convinces the other that this is a score or vice versa. If they agree on the score, that's great. If they're just not going to agree, then you have to have them talk through each point of the game as much as they can remember, and you have to throw out the points that they don't agree on. So if they agree that player A won the first point, it's 15-love, and you keep going until there's a disagreement. And then once you get to that point that they disagree on, you can usually talk them through what happened. It could be that the player B didn't hear player A's call when he said out, because he might have said it softly because it was close or something like that. So if that's the case and you can get player B to admit he didn't hear the call, then player A would get that point, and you can see what the score should have been. But if they don't agree at all, then you just got to count the points they agree on and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the worst case scenario happens, you could flip a coin if you really wanted to resolve it and you didn't have any other option.
Do you flip the coin for what in that situation?
Well, that's the last case scenario. So let's say they're both arguing over 40-30 or 30-40. It's that close. It's 1 point basically they're arguing about, and they won't agree on that 1 point. And if they don't want to replay it because they both feel at that point it's unfair, if it says break point for one player, it's game point for another. So the best option, and that this only happens once in a great while, you can get them to agree that a coin flip is the most rational choice because it resolves that 1 point issue. Now, if they don't want to do that, then you just have them replay that point. They start from 30-all, and they both lose, Because if you have to go to 30-all, that means that one of those players is not getting credit for a point that he won.
Right.
So sometimes the coin toss is, a logical scenario because it's just going to resolve the situation fairly, even though it's luck. I mean, it's still 50-50 chance that you're still going to keep that point. Whereas the other scenario, 30-all, you're losing that point no matter what. You got to go back and replay.
Yeah.
I never used the coin toss. I mean, I could think of a couple times where I did, but not very many times. I usually want them to get to a score they agree on somehow. If they can't, then we replay that point.
Okay. So there's a situation a lot where you come on the court as a referee, the player says it's my call. Is that rule still in force?
Yeah, everything. Tennis is a game where you respect your opponent, and it's a gentleman's game, and everything on that side of the court, on your side, in other words, where you're playing, is your call. So if a player doesn't like a line call and he asks the opponent, "Are you sure?" If he says yes, then you got to play on. Even if they come get me, if it's a hard court, there's nothing I can do. If there's a clay court, I can look and see the mark, and I can go see if that's the mark that they agree on, first of all. If they both agree that is the mark, then I can inspect the mark, and I can see if there's any space between the mark and where the line is, so I can make a good call, a reasonable call, basically. However, if I come on the court and there's no mark to show me, because sometimes the court's so beat up, there's just not a clear mark. It's been played on all day without any grooming, then I just have to go by that player's call. And that is the case, I mean, you're coming in after the fact, so that rule is, especially on refereed matches, is you're going to have to listen to the player first that made the call. And then, of course, you want to listen to the other player as well, but you really got to go by the evidence.
Right. So, Matt, this is Sekou Radio, Southwest Florida, Sarasota, Bradenton, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. Our guest today was Matt PFEIFFER. We are at the end of our show. We want to thank you. If you have one advice for tennis junior players out there, what would that be to end?
Oh, I think just have fun. Have fun playing the game. Tennis is a great game. It's a game to me that kind of mimics life because you must overcome your sometimes your opponent, you must overcome injury. You have to overcome disadvantages. It's just like life. And if you can win in tennis, you can win in life.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. And great to have you. And we'll see you on the court side soon.
Yes. I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Bye.